We are live on Reddit and we are also live on LinkedIn Stream. Everyone out there, my name is Jake. This is my friend Kyle. This is the Founders Way podcast, and we are here to speak about all things with business, startups, entrepreneurial goals, fintech. Kyle?
Yes. So, Jake, thanks for the suggestion on the name change. We were something else before, but now we are Founders Way, and I think this reflects, our goal of being able to talk about anything having to do with starting a business, founding a business, in hopes that some of you will be inspired to take action and take that journey.
And so I was gonna start today, if that's all right, Kyle, talking
Go
about
ahead.
an experience that I had this morning, actually.
Tell me about it.
So I've joined this group called 1 Million Cups, and they're, I think, a global group. Perhaps they're definitely a national group, and they're not in
Hmm.
every city, but they're in quite a number of cities where you get to go, and it's kind of a friendly room where you can go and practice pitching. And in pitching, you also get to practice, promoting your business. There seems to be all kinds of people there, promoting a service, promoting some kind of a business, as well as people kind of in more like my startup environment. And today we were part of a Florida group, which is like quite well established. I think they're all a little different. Some are newer, some have slightly different focus and substance. And I
Okay.
wanted to say that the guys down in Florida were one really great group of guys. And our pitch, we have just been for our business Amplify. We've just been practicing it and practicing it, and we're starting to get some kind of nice engagement and feedback from potential investors. So
So,
that
how'd you
made for
hear
an
about
exciting
this?
morning. It was recommended to me actually by my marketing person, whose name is Angela. Her business is Spark Rocket Marketing. She recently moved from Florida, where she was deeply connected to this group, and is now up here in New York, which she loves. And we are going to pitch some of the other 1 Million Cups groups to kind of feel them out and continue to get more practice. And also, there's some real investors in there. And
Okay.
I hadn't had a look, but I was going to recommend to you. It seems kind of a business networking group that might somewhat be up your alley and some of the things that you're up to.
That sounds kind of interesting. Are they a local, regional type of thing? Like, are there chapters around the country, or how does it work?
That seems to be the way. It seems to be local, regional. One of the original ones was here in Stanford, and I think it used to be more of a face-to-face pitching group
Uh,
until coronavirus came around. But again, it's a very friendly environment, so you don't have to be from Florida to pitch that group. You can kind of connect with them. They do want people to come. They want to have material to discuss, and they will give feedback to all levels. Beginners, first time, advanced, looking for investors.
all
And
right.
so that was kind of a cool group. It seems a little bit like Toastmasters, but a little more social.
Okay. So kind of more oriented towards really pitching for investment. Yeah.
Yeah, but also a lot of business people that are there to network and support other people that are into business networking in the area without it being like, were you ever part of a? I think you are part of BNI.
Yeah. I was with BNI for several years.
Still doing it? Not active?
I do it on a substitute basis. People call on me to sub for them when they can't do it.
Oh, gotcha. That's a nice way to do
Yeah.
it. I've tried BNI. I checked out Toastmasters. I didn't actually go for it. And this seems to be in a somewhat similar vein, but a little bit more laid back. I don't think you have to pay to join, but there's some good networking in there. There were some great people and a great crowd. And I will look up and see if there's one near you.
I'm curious, why do they call it 1 million cups?
So there's a theme. That's a very good question. There's a theme that has to do with coffee. And because I think it started out as a morning group of people that would meet for coffee and talking about business, and the concept kind of flourished. And I think the concept behind 1 Million Cups is that entrepreneurs such as yourself and me it's definitely true for me, have 1 million cups of coffee to kind of keep going, or kind of like a
Yeah,
million pitches over 1 million cups of coffee. And so I think that is part of their theme, is that kind of business grind.
that's reasonable. Coffee fuels the business. At least it does for me.
It does for me as well. I'm an avid coffee drinker. I've got a little bit of the Death Wish on the shelf. You ever tried that?
No, I haven't.
It's the world's most caffeinated coffee.
Really. It's so caffeinated they call it a death wish.
Yeah, well, I think that's just marketing. I don't think it's so strong, but I do keep some on the shelf, and every once in a while on an afternoon where I need a little extra push, brew a cup of that, and
Bet that
has a
goes well with Bailey's.
little bit of extra. I haven't tried that yet, but it's a very good idea. little Deathwish coffee and Bailey's is definitely maybe that's how I'll have my Friday afternoon.
That's how I'd have to take the edge off all that caffeine, is dump a little alcohol in it.
A little bit of balance.
Yes. So, well, that sounds good. I hope that you get your pitch all nailed with a million cups, and that becomes fruitful for you. I think that, you know, for any business owner, being involved in the community is a critical part of marketing. You know, it's about creating awareness for your business and, you know, potentially raising money or finding new customers or finding new channel partners that can give you referral leads. So, you know, whether it's a million cups, which sounds like it's pitch based, or BNI, which is probably more community based for, you know, local communities to develop referral networks. It's a really important part of getting your name out there. You know, it kind of reminds me that I'm in various networking groups, but you know, the reason I think the reminder that I need to be involved in these things goes back to when I was 17 and I was working in a pizza place, and you know, these sugar packets with little like sayings on them on the table, and one of them said, "He who has a thing to sell and goes and whispers in a well is not so apt to get the dollars as he who climbs the tree and hollers." And I took that to heart. And
That's a
to
great
that
that's a
end,
great
networking is
message.
the way to go.
That's a great message. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's like the best fortune cookie message there could ever be.
Yeah. I kept that sugar packet for years until it disintegrated in my desk drawer one day when I was in my 20s.
Well, it's very true, and I think it comes back to you know, running a business is more than one thing. You know, you have to be active in a community, you have to network, you have to be able to sell, you have to be able to run books, you have to have energy. You
Yeah.
really have to have a trifecta of those things. But before we move on to another subject, just to follow on from 1 million cups, you know, our pitch, um, we have some investors that are kind of coaching us now. They're helping us make little changes in how we say certain things, and it seems to be having a big impact to the kind of feedback that we're getting and the engagement that we're getting. We really did get some great questions today, and we're slowly building our network of interested investors. And so we're kind of building those connections, and more people are coming in, and those people know people, and so that is a solid progression for us on our mission to raise
And you're
money.
in a pre-revenue state, is that correct?
We've hit revenue, but because we're at such an early stage of revenue, we're still considered a pre-revenue business. We would like to, within the next 6 months, kind of get up to low, like high fives or low sixes of revenue. And I think when we reach that point, we'll be very investable. So we have to find the right investors who are after those pre-revenue companies and build the excitement. And we're getting a little bit closer at that. So
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad
it's
to hear it.
exciting, but it's also extremely hard work and very mental.
So, what's your plan to get there? When you know, the topic that was on my mind today had to do with customers, and I'm curious, like how, you know, what's your plan for, you know, the service that you have? How do you price it, and where do you find your customers?
So that was actually one of the questions from the audience today. You know, how are you going to go out and get your customers? And so my
Mm,
answer for that personally was, you know, I have 15 years of equipment finance experience. That is my job. I'm a salesperson at heart that goes out and find these customers. We will do that through, you know, getting leads, making phone calls, sending out emails, as well as going to the right kind of events that have people who are selling equipment to network with them, perhaps have stands there. And that's how we've done business in the past, and that's how we can do business today.
yeah, so that's kind of a tried and true B2B approach. Is a mix of networking and the direct sales model, direct outbound. It sounds like you're working a Rolodex, which is very common in those types of industries. Do you ever do advertising or no?
We have not gotten to the place of doing advertising. I would like to, when we raise money, do some more kind of marketing. I don't think we do advertising so much as marketing. I do
Mm,
think the world has changed and the game has changed, and people are, and part of what we're practicing as well, right? I think people are on social media and influencers and staying in front of people in a way that gets their attention is not an easy thing to do in this world
yeah,
where there's a lot of noise. And I think
yeah.
that there's a shift in what people consider marketing and outreach.
Yeah. Well, I guess what we're doing here is a form of creating awareness, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is supposed to be an attempt to get the people that are interested on Reddit that are interested in business, but
Yeah.
also to prepare to promote ourselves and our businesses in new ways,
Yeah,
as well as
absolutely.
discuss business.
I mean, I'll make no bones about the fact that my hope is that people will learn enough about being able to start a business if they're on the other side of that right now, just contemplating in it, that they'll make the move. And that we can be inspirational in that effort in some way. It's really not that hard, but your success indicators are internal. So either you think you can or you think you can't. Either way, you're right. But I believe that you can.
Either way, you're right. That's really interesting.
Yeah. But I think that you can. I think that anybody can. Most people can. I admit there are certain folks that for whom business ownership is just not the right fit. But for most people, if you've got the right attitude, you can do it. Um, but the hardest part about I think it is figuring out who your customer is. Right. I mean, all business basically, all that we're doing is we're solving some compelling pain of a set of customers in exchange for money. Right. I mean, that's all business is. So, to dumb it down like that, then it's really a matter of before you even think of a business, you have to know like who's your customer going to be. And it may not be who you think it is, but that going through that process of figuring out who your customer, what are they going to pay, and how are you going to reach them. If for any business, if you don't have those nailed, you're going to have a hard time. And it
Now,
sounds like you know who
because
your
you work in
customer
this kind of franchise space, I mean, you work with all kinds of different businesses. So, do you? I mean, you must have to help with people with how they find their customer, but also I'm making some assumptions with the franchises. They must kind of come into it giving some guidance about what's worked well for them or what they expect to work well.
Yeah, you're right. And that's kind of what I like about franchising is that for any good franchise, the customer questions are nailed. And by the customer questions, I mean, who is your customer? How much are they going to pay? How are you going to reach them? How often are they going to buy? All right. And what problem are you trying to solve? So if you have those 5 questions nailed, your business is going to be off to the races.
If
And I
you run
expect
through those, you run through those again.
who's your customer? How much are they going to buy? Or how much are they going to pay? How are you going to reach them? How often will they buy? What problem are you trying to solve? Right. So there are ancillary questions, but these are the core ones. I expect any good franchisor to have those nailed. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an attractive thing because when people are looking for a franchise, they're really looking for a business plan in a box. And that plan includes having answered those customer questions, figuring out how to market them, and figuring out what problem you're going to solve and what problems you're not going to solve.
I would have kind of thought the onus on that would be on the franchise more than the franchisee.
That is what I mean when I say franchisor. That is the sort of the corporate entity that is providing the system. Yeah, and a
So
franchisee is somebody who
you
comes in
expect the
and runs.
franchisor to have those 5 questions nailed, but so then the franchisee has to have an understanding of that and a strategy around that.
Yeah, and so the franchisees big problem to solve as they're thinking about getting into a business like this is: are these systems going to work for the way you like to work as an owner? Does this get you to your goal? Does the solution to this customer problem resonate with you, and can you work with them day to day to get those problems solved? Is that something you're good at and something you like to do? If it is, that's a good mix right there. And so getting into franchising is less about creating something like what you're doing. You're creating a new solution to an ongoing problem. And franchising is more about providing a system that helps an owner step right into business ownership. Um,
You seem you seem quite passionate about that. What is it about honing in on that customer base that makes you interested, that makes you passionate about it?
I think what it really, if I dig down, I like it because it is a recipe for success. If you look at government census statistics, after 5 years, half of all businesses that have started have failed, right? That's a big problem. And that's that risk that keeps people from even starting. Um, but with franchising, it's different. It's 85% of them succeed after 5 years. So huge difference. It's basically going from, from a failing grade to a passing grade. And when you've got investment on the line, that can make the difference. So I like to hedge bets in favor of people that succeed, and this is one way to do it. And I'm passionate about that all day. That's my passion, is making sure that people are going to be as successful as they can be as business owners.
Do the franchises have any kind of mechanisms for when the franchisees, something's not right? Are they able to kind of step in to give them additional guidance, or to help them, some kind of bumpers to keep them on the rails?
Yeah, there are. The guardrails are there, and often that comes in the form of coaching in the beginning. There's
That comes
training in
back
the
to you.
beginning.
That comes back to you. You're part of that strategy.
Well, I coach during the research process. Once they're in the business, then a franchisor will train them on how to run it. I make sure on the front end that they're looking at the right businesses that are going to fit, like, so that when they step in, they're going to be A players, right? So now you got an A player, get trained up, get a coach, an accountability partner, and a set of systems that keeps them on track, right? And to be able to dashboard that business as well, so you can track what you think you should be doing against what you're actually doing, and make those little corrections. As long as you've got that, you can stay on the success path.
Are there communities amongst the owners of the franchises? You're an owner of business. For me personally, like, I was discussing with 1 Million Cups, right? There's a network of people there who have been in startups before, who have felt the pain, who are there to try to help new companies come along and flourish. So,
Yeah,
are there communities of these owners of these different franchises that are able to kind of collaborate or commiserate?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's interesting about that. The franchise model is you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. So I've got people all over the country that do just what I do, and I can lean on them for support, whether it's emotional or operational or learning how to do marketing. I can provide that support. I'm not the newbie anymore, so a lot of times I can help mentor others. But a lot of franchises are like that. And it creates that community, so you don't feel like you're dangling out there in the wind. I don't know. You probably have a lot of friends in your life that don't run businesses, right? Do they have difficulty identifying with what you're trying to do here?
Well, yeah, it is. It's very common for people to say that entrepreneurship is a very lonely thing,
Mm-hmm.
and being in a startup, particularly, is known to be very, very lonely.
It can
And
be.
I can speak to that. There's times that there's a lot of pressure on you, and while people can try to relate, um, it can be a very lonely business. But one thing that comes to my mind when you mention that, Kyle, is that I remember experience previously. I lived abroad, and I started a restaurant, not in the sense that you would in America, where you probably need quite a lot of money to get an establishment and keep it to a certain code and get licensed.
Yeah.
This was a pretty basic place that kind of made some basic food. But in starting a business in this community, it changed my experience. There's kind of, it's not that there's an unwritten rule, but there's this weird thing that changes with karma when you're a business owner, is
Yeah.
other business owners now identify with you. So,
You get
when
that
you're a
knowing
customer,
look.
you identify with other customers. When you're a business owner, suddenly you meet another business owner, you have a very different conversation. Even if you were the most friendly, social customer that came in and met a business owner, it's a slightly different conversation. There's a slightly different openness when two business owners meet. And I imagine it must be the same way when franchisees meet each other and have had similar experiences. And I tried this franchise, and I tried to hire these kind of people, and you have a bond there that's really, fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's that is true. And a good example of that, I spent a week in Orlando last week, and it was our franchise conference, right? So all of our consultants were there from around the country, and on one of those days we do, let's like a consultant only day, and we get together and we talk about best practices for marketing, and we pull up a panel of people that are trying new innovative things to share that information, give the opportunity to ask others to ask questions, and incorporate it into their own businesses to do better in their own markets. So that's really powerful, and there's a lot of camaraderie, and we share a lot of the same experiences and speak the same language, really, owner to owner.
And that's something that speaks to me, is I'm really into innovation and how it's being used in business. So those groups that have innovative people kind of call out to me, and I identify with them. But so you were talking about customers and how people find customers. Did you have more? You were talking a bit about how to qualify in the first instance what makes a good customer or how many of them you may need. But as far as the actual outreach to people, what are some of the things that either you like to do? Because I know you're very active in business development, but what are some of the things you recommend to people?
It depends on the type of business. If you have a business to consumer sort of thing, let's say like you're spraying for mosquitoes or cleaning a house or doing irrigation, it isn't really cost effective to go house to house necessarily. So we find, as you would expect, that doing online marketing and SEO is going to be more cost effective. But when you're doing something like what you're doing, where you have businesses as customers, well, those you can count, right? It's not like you're dealing with a large demographic market. You're actually counting businesses. You can go to Dun and Bradstreet and get a list and start calling if you wanted to, or you can work that Rolodex of people that you've worked in the past. And so B2B versus B2C is kind of a different thing. It's much more direct sales in B2B, as you probably know. It sounds like that's where your expertise is. But it's not quite as effective in B2C. So it's more about managing digital campaigns and things like that.
And I think that's a really important point because on the B2B side, you are more likely to do lead generation and phone calls and emails. And on the consumer side, you are more likely to be in that kind of advertising space.
Yeah. And I think that there's a different way. It goes from outbound to inbound when you go B2C. So, a really effective way is to, blitz a digital campaign, make the marketing spend. And I think that's a mistake a lot of independent business owners make, is not spending enough on marketing to prime that pump for revenue. But once the customers come, you need to be ready to answer the phone, and having a call center is a really great way to do that too.
So you utilize call centers? Do you have one that you use, or you just mean recommending to people to set one up?
I do not, because I don't have the volume of business that requires it. But I was talking actually. I called a business that I'm getting prepped for sale, and I just kind of secret shop them. It's a B2C retail beauty business, and I called to see if they were open, to see if I could go visit them. And I got put into a call center immediately. The first thing they asked for was, zip code, and they knew but the call center, even though it might be in a different city, they knew the names of the estheticians. They knew what the hours that they were working, when their appointments were available. So it's pretty well integrated, and it was what I think is, customer touch done right.
To me, I think that's a big part of the modern world,
It
and it's
is.
harder to get right than I think what people think. Getting that customer touch right and good customer service, and there's a lot more businesses out there that don't really care about the customer as much as you'd think. Or once the customers bought the product, not having the follow up, or not having the care, or not supporting a warranty. Um, that
Yeah.
can be a troublesome side to business. People that are maybe unethical.
Yeah, it can be, and when you think about different types of owners, there are a bit different businesses where your customer is actually an ongoing relationship. It might be a monthly recurring revenue thing where people just come back over and over again. And there are
Yeah.
others where it's just one big ticket where you buy and go away and come back in 10 years. And, for those who are really relationship focused, those monthly recurring revenue types of businesses are great, because if you're just naturally inclined to, nurture people, they're going to keep coming back. I was kind of curious about your business. Was that one of those things where it's more relationship driven, or? Uh,
That is a really good question. So my industry is largely relationship driven, which is
mhm,
very expensive. If you have 100 salespeople and you're paying them all to drive around and meet people face to face, that is
yeah.
a really effective sales strategy in my industry. But it's also a very expensive one, and it can be
Hmm.
inconsistent. And there's kind of the 20/80 principle, right?
Yeah.
Salespeople that are good salespeople are very hard to come by. People think it's an art. You can't always train people. And so you will have top performers, but you'll have a lot of money and time that you waste on people that can't make it happen. And we're trying to move to a place where some of that sales support can be in a platform.
Okay.
Could potentially reduce costs. It could potentially make customer support more consistent. With all the data that's available in today's world, it could make data analytics provide something powerful that otherwise, I guess one of the key things I'm trying to do that I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you before, Kyle, is, there's a lot of businesses that are kind of running off Excel spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of salespeople that run off Excel spreadsheets, with leads and notes. And we would like to get some of these people off the spreadsheet, into something a little bit more modern and easier to use.
Is that the platform that you're designing?
That is the platform that we're building today, and that we have a few users for, and we're trying to make it more substantial and capable every day.
So the curious question then, it's a customer question. Is your customer the salespeople or the organizations that are leasing equipment, or is your customer the people that are actually leasing it to use in their business?
To do this well, we have to do well by both sides, right? If we were really good at
Mhm.
one but didn't help their customer, the buyer, much, we're not going to go very far. So we have to give a great experience to the buyers. But our main focus and our go-to-market strategy, we kind of have a three-sided marketplace, really, because we need to have a buyer, a seller, and a lender.
Mm.
So we have a three-sided marketplace, but our focus is really to partner with the people who sell equipment to make their life better. We're supposed to be like a sales enablement tool and deal
Yeah.
tracking and management to help save them time. Um, and that means that if we do that well, they then refer business to us. It's almost like creating a referral network through that platform, where they
Yeah.
will then introduce our buyers to us, because we're giving them a better experience, and then we're giving their customer a good experience, and helping them sell equipment. Then they should continue to refer people to us. And we're trying to do that by giving this away for free. We want to give you something that's going to help make your life better at no charge. And in exchange, you introduce people to us that we also treat very well. And that's a different kind of strategy from what's happening in our space at the moment.
Well, at some point you have to charge somebody, and it sounds like you've got multiple customers that benefit from this, potentially multiple types of customers in this three-sided marketplace. So who's the one that ultimately pays?
We profit if we offer a finance option and someone buys a piece of equipment with the finance option, then we do have a commission, much more like a mortgage broker. We have
Or a
a benefit
franchise
from
broker?
that. Or
I
a
have two
franchise broker.
customers that benefit, but one that pays. So and in the end, it sounds like your revenue model and mine aren't all that different in a way, even though we
No,
have vastly different types of businesses.
very different go-to-market strategies, but that broker kind of third-party space is going to have some similarities to it across the spectrum.
Fascinating. Well, it sounds like you're coming along in your journey, and I think we're coming to the end of our time. Do you have any thoughts you wanted to close with?
Uh, I would just say, this is our Founders Way podcast. We are interested to find people out on Reddit that are interested in business, entrepreneurship, startups, and motivational discussions. And we will be back next week at the same time. We would love to get more engagement, more questions. We're open to your feedback on what we can do better or differently. And what are your thoughts on signing off today, Kyle?
Well, I like the Founders Way. I think that was a good choice. I think you get the credit for that one. And yeah, we are here to help people who are thinking about the entrepreneurial journey, and want more resources, want questions answered. So we are here for you every week, on LinkedIn and Reddit, RPAN, and YouTube. And we appreciate your interest, and hit us up if you got any questions. There's a link in the description.
Appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you very much. It was great to see you, Kyle, and we will see you again
You too, Jake.
next week.
All righty. Have a good one. Bye-bye.